Hey, what's going on, Minnesota Viking fans? Welcome to the Purple People Podcast. I'm your host. Well, a third of the host here. I can't take the credit.
You are all of the host.
I am all of the hosts. That's correct. My name is Kyle Smith. I'm joined by Adam Carlson.
How's it going, guys?
And Mr. Kyle West.
Hey, yo. How's it going?
I like the shirt, man. Kyle, I need that shirt. Whenever you can send that to me, that'd be great. Thanks.
And you got a visitor down by your side there.
You got off the couch, man. You're ruining the flow of the show. He's like, I don't care. Give me food. Well, we have a crazy show to talk about. It's called the Cappening. I love it.
Darn it, Kyle.
And this is episode number 292 of the Purple People Podcast, if you can believe it.
Yeah, the Cappening. It's a take on the movie The Happening, which is an interesting film, according to Mr. West.
It is one of Adam Carlson's favorite movies of all time. I have it right here on a Blu-ray.
I don't hate that movie.
It stars former Philadelphia Eagle Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, no.
But it does have that Zooey Deschanel, or however you pronounce her name.
Ooh.
I hate her.
Why?
She's got big, gorgeous eyes.
Good.
Okay.
No.
Fair enough. And I will stay away from the sexist comments.
And I like the show New Girl. It got a little bland. I stopped watching it the last couple seasons, but it was good for a long time. That all said, we should probably talk about football.
Let's just do a whole thing about New Girl. Let's branch out.
Who's that girl? It's Jess.
All right, let's jump into some quick hits before everybody leaves that's watching.
So, fuck. The podcast.
If you're just joining in, you're welcome. Thank you. NFL.com put it list together of the top 101 free agents. Minnesota Vikings on that list were Jerick McKinnon at 52, Sam Bradford at 15, Teddy Bridgewater at 14, and Case Keenum at 10.
Let's talk about some glaring omissions here, because we have two Vikings offensive linemen and one cornerback that are both quite essential. And I understand that the aging players are not probably top priority. Joe Berger is near the end of his career. Terrence Newman, another one that's pretty close to the end of his career. But you can't deny the impact these players have had and what they could do even if plugged in for a year anywhere.
I figured they'd be overlooked, and you got to remember all the different positions. So you have 22 players that could be on the field at one time, and then 32 teams. It's a lot of people, but
Nick Easton's still pretty young, man.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that the trend, though, all the time? We always have somebody that gets left out, and you're just like, what? Like, we had to fight for so many the seasons previously until he finally got mentioned. Linval Joseph was a top 100 player.
Right, about time.
It's just like, what are y'all doing? Andrew Luck didn't even play this year. Guarantee you he's on that players list. But I digress. We're all biased here because the Vikings are awesome, and I thought it was kind of low for Jerick McKinnon, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to get near the featured role he's looking for. He might find somewhere where he gets a little better split. But for now, I don't know. I'm not – I like him, but I don't know. We do have some people in the chat here talking with us already. We got Eric Spencer, Eric Grendall, Aldine Adkins, as well as Jubilee listening.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for the live broadcast. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, feel free to join us in the comments. And starting now, these chat comments that you guys are saying live are going to transition down into the comments of the article itself, which is going to help people reach out and find us that are searching on YouTube for Minnesota Vikings podcasts. So we really appreciate that. And please just keep on chatting.
Yeah, if you guys want to give us something to talk about, or if there's something you'd like us to debate or discuss with you, please let us know. It is the off season, and we do have main topics. We do have plenty of quick hits, but we always like to let you guys chime in so you guys have a more personal experience. So thank you. Moving on for these quick hits, big news. The Vikings have moved into TCO Performance Center, so that's pretty exciting. I've seen a couple of pictures floating around on social media, and it looks really nice. It doesn't, however, look fun to be around in that blistering snow that's up there right now. I'm really glad that I'm in El Paso, Texas, where it was 72 degrees today, and I got to go outside and run around in shorts, so that was pretty sweet.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about it because, as I've said multiple times, it's just right down the road from me, and Every time I drive past it, I keep thinking, man, I'm going to be right in the heart of it when training camp comes, and it's going to be so exciting because I'm going to be able to get lots of cool opportunities to watch practices, evaluate some of the young players, maybe get some autographs, meet some players. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it in a big way.
And if they keep it the way they've done it in the past, Adam, everything is basically free to go to at training camp.
Yep.
So if you're close enough to it, why would you not? Why would you not go? It'd be so much fun. Just go hang out, talk to Viking fans all day.
Yeah. Maybe meet up with some more fans, because last time I went to training camp, I got to meet some Vikings fans that I had never met before, and some listeners of the podcast as well, and it was a fantastic experience, and I can't wait to do it again.
You and I got to meet up, Adam, and watch fireworks, literally.
Yeah, dance to Prince while fireworks are going off. You don't get that opportunity too often.
That's pretty awesome. I'd love to make it up there with you guys sometime. I'm sure we can make that happen in the future.
Let's make it happen.
So moving on, Egan High School Wildcats were invited by the Vikings to become the first team to use the new field at TCO Performance Center. Yet again, we have another great story of the Vikings involving the community. I love these stories, guys. I can't get enough of these. How cool would that be if you grew up in Minnesota and you were a huge Viking fan, and then you get to go in and use the place where they practice and probably get to meet some players or people that you've seen before? That's pretty sweet.
I always think things like that are awesome. It's the small things that the team does that can set everything apart. For me, especially high school kids, maybe hoping to continue being athletic or being active, or even becoming lifelong Vikings fans for some people that aren't. I mean, it's going to be pretty awesome.
I got a couple chat room questions I want to ask you guys before they get lost in the ether of the chat here. The first one is for you, Adam. Sergio wants to know if he can send you some mini helmets if you will get autographs for him.
We can see what we can do. There are several opportunities throughout the year, especially when the season's in play, to get some autographs. I have already quite a pretty decent collection myself, but if something comes up, I'll definitely keep some mini helmets in mind. I'm not a big mini helmet guy. I prefer like footballs or photos or stuff like that. I bought a couple jerseys recently. I'm looking to get those autographed in the future. But yeah, I mean, there are plenty of opportunities up this way. So hopefully if you can't make it, maybe I'll be able to hook you up with something.
I also just thought, too, that would be a good way to get some autographed stuff for next year's fantasy football giveaway.
Oh, yeah. I've already got some stuff in mind.
Oh, yeah. We have another question about Drew Brees. This is coming from Habna. He wants to know, how much will it take to go after Drew Brees instead of Kirk Cousins? We would have to be the New Orleans Saints. That's what it would take.
Yeah. Move the team to New Orleans, become the Saints.
You couldn't have said that any better. It's not to discredit you, Habna, at all. It's just I've said this many times within social media platforms online. Drew Brees is very adamant and loyal to New Orleans. They love him down there. The organization, the head coach, the GM have all said, we will get a deal done. So it's pretty much off the board. I know you could technically say, like for us, Kyle Sloter's the only one under contract, but we could still go after one of the three guys that we had in the roster this year. But let's be honest, we all have heard the rumors about Kirk Cousins and all that. We'll probably go somewhere else in a different direction. It's the same with Drew Brees. Yeah, technically he might be a free agent, but they've already both stated on both sides he's going to stay in New Orleans. He's going to retire as Saint. That's what I think.
Sergio, if you're in SoCal, keep an eye out for some of those, like some of the signings for players that played in California, because a lot of those guys will come home and they'll do autographs down there. So keep an eye open on that. I know we get a lot of players that used to play at the University of Minnesota that come back here and sign autographs every once in a while. And, well, I'm not a big University of Minnesota fan, and I'm mostly looking for Vikings autographs. You got to kind of consider some of those guys, especially if they are some pretty great players.
Just hang out at the airport. That's my advice.
Yeah, TMZ it up.
Yeah.
For life in general, just hang out at the airport.
Right. It worked out pretty good for Tom Hanks.
Don't leave wow, that was awesome. Yeah, don't leave your car though, because it will get towed and you'll probably go to jail. Found that out.
Is it the white zone or the red zone that's for parking, or which one will be towed?
I know in El Paso they have the cops on those little vests, whatever they're called, but the two wheels. They like to roll around and they will scream at you if you leave your car.
Oh, the Paul Blart, yeah.
Yeah, they'll Paul Blart the shit out of you there. So just in case you've ever come down to hang out in El Paso, I'll be here. But don't leave your car unattended because they will yell at you.
Adam, I'm going to go back and I'm going to give you an award for the most smooth transition into an airplane reference on the Purple People podcast, because that was I caught what you did right there.
I can never remember.
All right, I don't know how to say this S word here. The Santa Foundation will renovate the existing outdoor athletic fields at the Conway Community Center in St. Paul, Minnesota, thanks in part to a $250,000 grant from the Minnesota Vikings through the National Football League Foundation Grassroots Program. I'm going to have to look this up and do some research. Grassroots Program, that sounds like some deep South stuff that I would be interested in. So
it's all about giving back to the community, and the Vikings are always really good about that.
Love it.
When the foundation gets a lot of money, one of the first things they do is they automatically try to allocate some grants to schools to improve playgrounds, to schools, and and really hospitals, anything to help out kids in need. And it's always amazing. And I don't know, like I said, I don't have a lot of input, or I don't read a lot on other teams to see how much they do in the community, but everything that the Vikings do for kids, schools, playgrounds, hospitals, and everything like that is just amazing.
I think they build a playground every year, don't they?
They do. They at least rebuild one, if not build a new one.
So this next quick hit is going to stir some controversy, and I'm going to start from the top once we name it after the first line. And I want everyone's opinion on this because I think they totally misjudged the hell out of this. But Rotoworld ranked Mike Zimmer as the 8th best head coach in the NFL. Now,
that's low.
I think it's a little low, and based on some of these names I'm going to read to you, it's kind of laughable because he's outperformed them, especially this season. But they have Bill Belichick at number 1, Pete Carroll 2, Andy Reid 3rd, Mike Tomlin 4th, Doug Peterson, the Super Bowl winning coach, 5th, John Harbaugh, a non-playoff team of the Ravens, at 6th, Ron Rivera at 7, Mike Zimmer at 8, Sean McVay at 9, and Mike McCarthy at 10. This list is stupid.
I do think that a lot of it has to do because of Mike Zimmer's relatively small amount of head coaching experience. And I do think that it'll keep increasing. I think last year he was 15, so jumping from 15 to 8 is pretty darn good.
I don't like this list because if we're judging off of, let's say, the last 5 years, okay, then I could see it because Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick have won multiple Super Bowls. Andy Reid definitely shouldn't. He can't seem to find a way to win a playoff game and lose to teams like Tennessee who snuck their way in there. Mike Tomlin, I could see he has a lot of success, usually in the AFC Championship game. Doug Peterson should be first on this list based off of this season because he won the Super Bowl and with a backup quarterback, as I might add. John Harbaugh doesn't deserve to be in the top 10 because the Ravens are crap. Ron Rivera, I could see. Mike Zimmer could be up a little higher. Sean McVay is definitely worth a nod after this season, and Mike McCarthy is usually always there, even though Green Bay had a horrible season because the MVP of the league was down. But this list is just all kinds of – it's like they just sneezed a bunch of names and just threw them in there.
You mean like how when we put together our top 10 Vikings of all time?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not, Adam. And I will tell Rotoworld to suck it because I can make this list correct, and I could probably do it better than the guys getting paid for that website.
Oh, snap.
Ooh, what about that, Rotoworld? What you got? Come at me. All right.
I think they went with a lot of legacy coaches for, ones who have been in the Super Bowl and Super Bowl coaches before. I don't think it was so much for they just looked at like last year. Although it's tough. How do you not have Bill Belichick number 1? I know that Doug Peterson.
He's going to be number 1 on any coaching list.
I know Doug Peterson just won the Super Bowl, but how do you not have Belichick? Has to be number 1. He is, I think, probably the greatest coach in NFL history.
And it's also odd to base coaching on team success when there isn't the same amount of talent on every roster.
Right.
Because you could have really good coaches on teams with not much talent or vice versa. John Harbaugh has a lot of talented players, but Joe Flacco has not been anywhere near the quarterback that they had during that stretch in the playoffs where they won the Super Bowl.
Right.
What coach was that where he was talking to the media, and he was basically like, you guys try to evaluate what we do, but you don't know what we're asking our players to run.
Zimmer said that.
Was that Mike Zimmer?
Yeah, when he was criticizing Pro Football Focus.
Yeah, correct. That's right. I
always thought that coach right there.
Yep. And I mean, that's true as well, too. It's difficult to evaluate coaches because how can I sit down and, like, I don't know what Andy Reid, for example, is asking the Kansas City Chiefs to do other than looking at, like, surface value, win-loss record, and, you know, player performance, player stats and stuff. But
yeah, I think you only scale the surface. I mean, I think that's why a lot of guys, they'll probably like a guy like Laquan Treadwell a lot better. We don't see what kind of effort he puts in, what kind of progression he's made. Mm-hmm. We can only judge 60 minutes a week based off of what he's putting on the stat line and if he's making a big catch or a big play.
The blocking he does on field is great, and it never gets noticed because people just look at the catches.
And that's the other thing, too. I can reference this because it's relevant because draft day is coming up. I like the film Draft Day just because they made a football movie and it's current. And they say, what's her name? Jennifer Garner was in talking to the head coach in the movie. And he's like, you know what, an XYZ triple slot, boom, boom, blah, blah, blah. If you know what I'm saying, she's like, don't patronize me. Of course I know what you're saying. We don't know what that means. We wouldn't know anything about how complicated one single play would be.
A female talking about running routes.
Oh. Okay, Cam.
That's funny.
Oh, that Cam Newton.
Oh, Cam with your skinny jeans and weird hat.
Oh.
And the last one here, which is pretty cool that I didn't read it and just talked about the draft. NFL.com's Daniel Jeremiah, a.k.a. Move the Sticks, I like this guy a lot, released his post-combine mock draft. Has the Minnesota Vikings selective offensive guard Billy Price from Ohio State, which would be awesome because he would reunite with college teammate Pat Elflein and slides right in at guard. He can play all three interior spots.
I like that pick as well.
Wouldn't be mad with that pick at all.
That is assuming that the Vikings get the quarterback situation panned out in free agency.
Wouldn't that be the most tragic situation if Kirk's like, I'm going to the Jets because they're going to pay me. Case Keenum signs with Denver. Teddy Bridgewater goes to Arizona or somewhere, and we're like, hello? Is there a quarterback that wants to play in Minnesota?
Hello, Joe Webb. Are you available?
Oh, hell no. I don't want
We'd be all in on Bradford at that point, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Bradford, and then out to get a decent backup.
There are a lot of interesting quarterbacks in this draft. We're going to talk about it more when the draft comes, but I don't see the Vikings taking one of the high-end quarterbacks.
Unless they miss out in free agency, man.
Yeah, I think we're just too far down unless, like I said, that emergency and disaster situation happens where everybody signs somewhere in one day and we're like, oh, shit, we didn't plan for this. So I don't think that Slick Rick wants to get rid of any of those draft picks. If he does want to use them, he wants to move around in the draft, but I don't think he wants to wheel and deal them since we just did that pretty much 2 seasons ago. But we'll see because the draft is coming up very soon.
Eric Spencer says as long as they don't draft Orlando Brown, man, that guy had a bad combine.
Is that the offensive lineman?
Yeah, the one that ran slow. Looked like he really didn't give a crap about being there.
Reps on the bench than Shaquem Griffin with one arm.
Yeah, it was not good.
That sucks. Wouldn't that be crazy? I was just going to say that.
I was just going to say,
crazy if we landed him?
I would take him. Sorry, pardon my language, but I would take him in the Minnesota for sure.
If he falls into the second round, I mean, when you get to those later picks, that after that first big pick is out of the way, yeah, I mean, if you've got talented players who show it on game tape and you can see they have some fire, I mean, who knows what was going on in his head? Maybe he had something bad happen with his family or something like that. That's why I hate using the combine. Guys running around in shorts to just measure the ability of players. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of ridiculous to put so much emphasis on one event where not everything is really football oriented, but you can get an idea of their athleticism. It's just weird.
It's interesting how big of an event it's turned out to be. Adam Schefter was talking about how, years ago when he first started back in the early 90s, there was 7 people from the media total
right,
that showed up to cover the NFL Combine. And it was just, it's blown up into such a big media event now.
Did you watch the Combine any, Mr. West?
No, I've been pretty busy lately.
During the quarterback events, the seating was full, jam-packed. Wow. And as soon as it got over, Everything was emptied out, and the tight ends were out there, and there were like 8 people in the stands.
Like cockroaches when the lights come on. That's so biased, man.
It was ridiculous.
So was it like, who was it filled with? Like scouts? Like entire scouting departments or what?
Well, there are some tickets available to the public, but otherwise it is usually media outlets.
Okay. Sure. That makes sense.
That's why you got to keep an eye on, I think it's called 1 Iota for a lot of those event tickets when there's things going on. That's where you can get tickets to like Good Morning Football and the Combine, NFL Honors, that kind of stuff.
The Combine around. They started moving the draft location around. They need to get the Combine out of Indy. I have nothing against Indianapolis whatsoever, but that would be pretty cool to see it move around to some different stadiums. That'd be exciting for the town.
Speaking of that, are you going to the draft at Jerry World?
The draft at Jerry World?
Isn't it in Texas this year?
It's like 8 hours away.
I think so.
If you guys want to reference it, I'm not insulting your intelligence at all, Adam. I'm just doing a general statement. I live in the butthole of Texas, completely west, like right on the border of Mexico and New Mexico. So I'm forever away from everything. I was 7
hours away from Minneapolis before, but I'd come down here for concert and events, and it's not a big deal.
It depends on the date. Usually, if I have a class here, but I think I pretty much made plans with one of my fellow Viking fans and coworkers here to just go to a bar, have a beer, and just try to make selections. I called the Mitch Trubisky pick last year with my best friend here, and I just saw his jaw drop. He's like, "You literally."
As soon as I saw the trade come in, I knew it was for a quarterback because you don't trade like that unless you're grabbing a quarterback. But I do want to say, anybody listening anywhere, if the Vikings do end up having a draft party, which they usually do when the team has a first-round draft pick, if they have a party up at TCO Performance Center, I will go. And
you have to go.
You guys got to hit me up because I would love to meet up with some people because I'll be flying solo, and it'd be cool to meet up with some fans and just BS about the draft. I'd like that.
Do you guys think they will ever open up the scouting combine to fans, to where like fans could buy tickets?
If they can find a way to make money off of it, I guarantee you it would happen.
I believe they were testing the waters. I think that's why they did what they did with 1 Iota to see if there was the interest. And the quarterbacks sold out, the wide receivers sold out, offensive linemen didn't even come close.
I mean, if tickets are cheap, if tickets are like in the $14 range, and if they can piggyback some like legend players, like, hey, there's going to be an autograph session with Deion Sanders.
They did do autograph sessions there. I know that there was the Panthers tight end Greg
Olson.
Greg Olson was there signing autographs, and I believe there were several Hall of Famers there as well.
Yeah, see, that would be cool. Although I almost start to wonder if that starts to distract from the actual point of the event.
Yeah, you don't want people standing in autograph lines when they're supposed to be watching what's happening on the field. But then again, once they've paid money to enter the building, who really cares what they're doing?
Yeah. I don't know. I won't lie. If it came to Minnesota and tickets were cheap and I had a couple guys who would like want to go with and like hang out for a day and go up there and there'd be some Vikings, meet Bud Grant and some other Vikings legends at the scouting combine. And like you said, watch some quarterbacks and wide receivers and get some hot dogs and chill out in US Bank Stadium. I'd do that. That sounds like fun. That totally sounds like fun.
That'd be incredible.
Yeah.
So we're right in the thick of things, transitioning into social media. I'm sorry, I'm looking down at one. Main topic of the week, which we have kind of two, but we can go ahead and run into the salary cap because we're going to talk about that, some quarterback stuff. But the salary cap increases to $177.2 million, giving the Vikings an approximate $42.7 million to spend.
All
of it on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, last year was $167 million, I believe, so it went up $10.2 million. The approximate 42.7 is after the Vikings top 51 minus their draft picks and dead money. So I took all that into account when figuring out the 42.7 million. And it seems like a lot on paper, but let's take a minute and break down a lot of what the Vikings are going to need to spend money on. Because this offseason, their free agents probably aren't going to cost a ton of money. Bringing back guys like Terrence Newman, Joe Berger, Nick Easton, Marcus Sherrills. These guys aren't going to cost a ton of money, and they're not going to be big hits against the salary cap. But you've always got to be looking forward to the future, and you don't want to jeopardize your future by signing massive contracts to free agents. So I know that there has been some rumblings that somebody overheard Greg Olson talking to somebody about something about a contract that
it was a 3-year. What was it?
3-year, $91 million was the overheard rumor that somebody overheard someone else talking to somebody else about.
But then Tom Pelissero came out the next day and was like, "There is no truth to this.
There never was
on the Vikings end." So that was weird to see how that got spread all over social media.
It's a game of telephone, and to be honest, it's probably some great posturing from the agents on Kirk Cousins' part.
Oh, sure.
But let's say the Vikings do end up giving Kirk Cousins $30 million this year, guaranteed. That brings their cap number down. They've only got $12.7 million to spend. Now, you always want to leave yourself a cushion, so you leave yourself $2.7 million in case you need to sign an emergency free agent during the year.
Like what happened to our left tackle a couple years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got $10 million left. Now, you want to lock down some of your key free agents, and next year, you got Anthony Barr, you've got Eric Kendricks, you got Stefon Diggs. You have quite a few players you need to sign back. So where do you spend this money? Where do you get more money? Where can you trim some fat? I mean, it's all a situation when talking about the salary cap that makes me so happy that I don't have to deal with any of this because Rick Spielman is going to try to work out the most team-friendly deals. And when you approach a player about taking a salary cut, as we saw with the left guard, that Alex Boone, sometimes it doesn't go very well, and you end up losing a player that you had as a starter.
Alex Boone didn't really go over well, so that was fun. I was so pumped when he signed with us too.
Well, I was too. I thought it was a good signing, but didn't work out. Maybe that happens sometimes.
We have Eric Spencer in the chat talking about how he's torn between Cousins and Bridgewater. And right now, I'm still pretty firmly in the Bridgewater camp. I'm a believer that he can do what the team needs, and I don't think they need someone as inconsistent as Kirk Cousins can be. I understand that they want someone established, someone so that they don't have to keep just playing this quarterback roulette game. And I would love to see that end too, but they'd be giving up a lot to get Kirk Cousins, and if it doesn't result in bringing home a championship, this could be either the best move they make or a massive mistake. So it's going to be a big roll of the dice, but I'm interested to see where the Vikings feel this gamble is worth it.
It's all because of that freaking knee injury too. It sucks because we all were riding the Teddy train just happily because he looked so good about to start the season 2 years ago.
Before that happened, Teddy was the guaranteed starter. He was going to go into that season and he was going to be the starter. And it's weird that a knee injury can push him back so far when now he will have had ample time to recover.
Right.
He'll be as close to 100% as possible. And if a team can grab him and he can remain healthy, they could be getting an absolute steal in free agency. And Teddy Bridgewater has already gone on record as saying that he's willing to accept a short-term deal to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it sounded like you wanted to say something.
Oh, I was going to say that whatever they do with the salary cap here, they have to take care of Stefon Diggs. Because I think the combination of Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs is and it's really key and really important to our success moving forward. I think those two are a big part of the reason why our offense clicks and works. And so I don't want to see them lose Stefon Diggs, especially because we don't really have depth we've got depth at wide receiver, don't get me wrong. But if you start taking Diggs and you throw him out because he's gone because you can't afford him.
Then you can get more reps for Wright. You can get more reps for Treadwell.
You can
see what you finally have there.
Yeah, I don't like that because they've had Jarius for a number of years, and for whatever reason, they haven't chosen chosen to give him a larger role on this team. And so that has to mean something. It has to mean something that they only use him in the way that they do. I haven't seen enough from Laquan Treadwell for me to be comfortable to say, yeah, you can take over for Stefon Diggs. I just don't see that fit. And then I feel like we're creating a need at the wide receiver position where if we just are able to retain Diggs, we don't have a need at that position. So I don't want to see that happen to the Vikings.
See, I will argue that Eric Kendricks is probably a higher priority than Stefon Diggs is. He really has become the heart of that defense because of his speed. I really think that if the team ends up moving on without him, it's going to be awful. I know it's not going to be a popular thing to say because so many people do love him, but at this point, I'd say that if you have to lose one of the top free agents from next year because you ended up signing Kirk Cousins, Anthony Barr has to be near the top of that list.
Yeah, I don't like it. I would get rid of Hunter before I get rid of Anthony Barr or Eric Kendricks.
Ooh.
I would, and it's not because I want to, but Diggs is pretty clutch when we need him. Him and Adam Thielen, I know they have different body types, but those two have become such a 1-2 punch. When one's having an off game, the other usually picks up the slack, assuming that they're both playing and healthy. With the way the defense is set up, I like that combination of linebackers way too much, and they're so young. I know Danielle Hunter's young as well, but, man.
Danielle Hunter's very young. He's got a bright future ahead of him, too.
Yeah, this is the fear we had about this conversation about signing Kirk Cousins. I wanted to go on a quarterback tangent about it, so I guess I'll throw that out of the way so I can have this for reference in a show and I can tell you guys to look back at it. If you keep Teddy Bridgewater, you save money. Do we know how the knee is going to be treated? No, but hopefully he'd be recovered. Obviously, he was ready to play because he got plugged into a game for a very short series last year. If you keep Case Keenum, can the miracle live on? That's the biggest question mark. I think that last year might have been a little bit of the flash in the pan because he's never had a team with this kind of weapons, and Pat Shurmur was an offensive guru. I'm not saying that John DeFilippo isn't. I think he's a great hire, and I think that he could do great things with that too. But Case Keenum's a big question mark. The other big question mark is Sam Bradford. The thing that I like about Sam Bradford is, number one, he said he wants to stay. Number two, he's had pretty much a whole offseason to get his knees healthier. But those knees, inconsistent. How did we have a crappier O-line 2 years ago, and he played all the games he needed to play, but one game, and then we don't even know what really happened to tweak his knee, and then he was out for the whole year. So that's the biggest thing. If we tie up all this money with Kirk Cousins, you lock down the most important position, which is crucial, and I think you get the top half, the upper 16 part of a quarterback. I think he's around 13 or 14 in the league, which is great. I think he's better than all the other guys if you were to rank them in order of that. Not much more than a Case Keenum or a Teddy Bridgewater or Sam Bradford, but that's a lot of money to dedicate to one guy. And like Adam was saying, when you sign Kirk Cousins, because it's all but said that we're going to do it, there's been multiple reports, but we're not saying that, number one, because Adam mentioned it in our chat that it's tampering. But if you sign that guy, you are going to lose a big name. The question is who, and can you live without him? That's my whole spiel on it.
Now, I know that I've been rather vocal about thinking that there are better options than bringing in Kirk Cousins. However, I don't want to take that as I am completely anti-Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins winds up being the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, I'm going to support him. I'm going to want him to be his absolute best. I'm going to hope that he can prove wrong everything that I have said as far as my knocks that I've had against his gameplay style. And I hope that he can bring just an absolute great presence to the locker room. But I don't know. I just have trouble. I don't see him being able to take a significant enough pay cut to where the Vikings would feel comfortable doing that. Meanwhile, I do think that he's going to get a ton of money thrown at him by the Jets. Just a ton.
Yeah. He's already made $44 million in the last 2 years because Washington's GM and front office are a bunch of idiots. So that I don't know what they were thinking, but it's very rare that you get a guy that's an actual franchise quarterback, because I think we can all agree he is a franchise quarterback, but where does he rank in those? What is he going to be worth? But that's just the day and age that we live in now. You're going to overpay for quarterbacks because somebody started the trend, and it's just whoever's a big name free agent, he's going to get the most money. It's going to outdo itself probably every season from now on, which is
we have TF Tyler in the chat here saying, I don't care about money right now. I'm trying to win, baby. And I get it. I do. If you go in on Kirk Cousins, you are going all in, and you have a window of a season or two based on what you are paying him before you start losing some of your high priority players. And if he can bring home a championship in that time, it will be well worth it. Otherwise, it's going to take a lot of smart drafting, great moves in free agency to keep up.
Yep, and it's going to take at least a season, probably two, to recover from that if it doesn't work out, if we don't make the Super Bowl, if we don't win a Super Bowl, because we're going to lose those people like you mentioned. So Vikings fans have to know that this is going to come with some drawbacks. There's going to be a lot of positives. I'm with you there, man. I know I joked a lot on this show saying Kirk Cousins is coming, he's coming. I honestly could care less who the quarterback is. I'll support whoever, just like you guys said.
Absolutely.
But it's just going to come with a price. But I do agree with you. If we win a championship, I mean, guys, we haven't been to the Super Bowl in almost 50 years. We've never won one. You imagine how Philadelphia's feeling right now to never have won a Super Bowl and it's finally there? I can't imagine anybody would be that upset and complaining, even though social media is full of those people. If we win a Super Bowl, nothing in that point is going to matter because it's finally going to be achieved. But I'm with you, man. I think it's going to be a 1 to 2 year window because we're there now. We have the pieces. But we've got to keep these pieces together. Some players are going to get older, and then some are going to cost more money, and then we're not going to be able to balance it out.
We do have some Nick Foles chatter in the chat here, and I believe there have been reports that teams have been offering a second and a sixth and things like that for Nick Foles, and just absolutely getting shot down, which is crazy for a backup quarterback. I guess they are looking for that first-round pick.
It's going to have to be a first. It'll probably be multiple like we did with Sam Bradford, probably a first and then a fourth or something crazy like that. He's not going anywhere. Carson Wentz isn't even going to be ready for week 1, so he's not going anywhere.
Hey, Philly's playing it smart. I mean, sit on him. They don't have to get rid of him. Wait until someone gets – I mean, you don't want anyone to get hurt, but wait until a position that the Vikings were in when they had to trade for Sam Bradford.
But also look at what happened with the Patriots, where they waited way too long to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. They had offers on the table of a first and a third from the Browns and ended up only getting a second from the 49ers.
Foles could want to – hey, for all we know, Foles wants to retire after this season. He had talked about retiring before last season as well, too. So maybe he's told the Eagles, I'm back for 1 year and then I'm done. So they're looking at it for – and I'm just speculating, but maybe they're looking at it going, if we don't get a first out of him, that's fine. We'll just keep him because he's going to be gone after this year anyway.
Yeah, this whole quarterback situation, you're going to have supporters of pretty much everybody. You're going to have the people that love everything Case Keenum did this year, and I did too.
Loved it.
But will question what he can do going forward or if he's a long-term answer. You'll have people questioning Teddy Bridgewater based on the limited success he had in the passing game when the Vikings were a run-first team. And him coming off the major knee injury, which I completely understand the skepticism there as well. You've got Sam Bradford, who a lot of people love as well, and has proven to be one of the most accurate passing quarterbacks in the NFL over the course of his career. But there are the questions about his durability. And then you got all the outside free agents that are options. And you've got all these young, talented quarterbacks in the NFL draft. And everybody's looking around at all these options. There's so many different ways the Vikings can go. And you got to take into account all your draft picks, your salary cap, your team chemistry, the offense you run, everything. This is going to be one of the most complicated decisions that the Vikings have ever had to make. And Mike Zimmer has already said that his job, his reputation might be on the line because of this decision, which is amazing.
I don't think Mike Zimmer's job is on the line. Well, I mean, your head coach's job is always on the line, but I think it would be more on Rick Spielman if this goes south. This could be a really big. If they miss this, he could be out. Is what I was getting at there.
Yeah, I do. As I wrote in my article on the Vikings, I do believe that it is more Rick Spielman who this decision will be hanging on instead of Mike Zimmer. I think Zimmer will hang around because of everything he's been able to do with the defense. But I also feel like this decision, I understand that Mike Zimmer's understanding the gravity of this decision, just how powerful whatever call the team makes is going to be and the impact it's going to have on the franchise heading forward. So it makes me really happy to see that he just totally grasps how essential it is that the team do everything in their power to get this decision right.
Mm-hmm. We got some Johnny Football chat and the
no, whatever
going on right now.
Just stop now. No.
He is willing to play for absolutely nothing.
I don't care. Go play in the Canadian Football League. You're a cancer. You do blow in the bathroom and you're drunk all the time. Get out of here.
Hey, if he can sober up and get another chance, I'm all for give him another opportunity.
Other teams that can give him a shot. The Vikings will not be one of them.
Jay Cutler? You guys want Jay Cutler?
Jay Cutler would not be a good mentor for Johnny Manziel.
If he was a backup, sure, but I think Jay just wants to go look and have his resting bitch face somewhere with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Hey guys, here's a quarterback question I've been meaning to ask you guys. What are the possibility that Sam Bradford is willing to just stick around as that backup number 2 mentor veteran quarterback here in Minnesota? Because he's been linked to Arizona filling in that role, some other teams is filling in that role. Why wouldn't he just stay here in Minnesota and do that?
The question will be if he can get a look as a starter. And I do think that he's going to get one of those opportunities where he will get paid mid-range starter money, like maybe lower tier starter money to compete for a starting gig. And I don't think Minnesota, if they end up signing Kirk Cousins, will be able to retain Sam Bradford as well, just because of how the market's going to be.
Well, I mean, if they go for Kirk Cousins, I don't think that they wouldn't need Bradford at that point.
You still got to have that quality backup. We saw it this year with Case Keenum.
That's true.
I think that Bradford,
tough,
Adam was saying about if he gets a look, if he doesn't, I think Sam Bradford should have a realistic expectation of maybe at this point I'm just a journeyman because of the health, which is no fault of his own. I mean, injuries happen, and he played on a horrible St. Louis team. But maybe it's that time at that crossroad where he's like, look, I'm set financially. I just want to play football. If somebody will give me a chance, and it'll prolong the life of his career, because if you're the backup, obviously you're not playing all the time. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very viable option. It's just like what Adam was talking about. Is somebody willing and desperate enough to give him that? And I don't think Cleveland is, because they've got multiple picks. They're going to get a quarterback, and probably a decent one finally. A weird underlier in this whole situation is the Indianapolis Colts. Is Andrew Luck alive? Because I don't know anything about what's going on with him. Is his arm still attached to his body? What's going on over there? We can go.
Yeah, there are a lot of quarterback needy teams out there. Teams that may even make transitional moves from quarterbacks, because we don't know how Miami feels about Ryan Tannehill anymore. There are a lot of question marks out there, but there are also a lot of bodies, and it's going to be interesting to see how all that just kind of pans out. I love free agency because you get to fill in a lot of the question marks. You see players going places they haven't been and trying to figure out how they fit in or how they'll work out. And for me, for the Vikings, I know that they have a lot of work to do as far as the offensive line, because losing Berger, Easton, Searles, I mean, all these guys, it's to me, my biggest concern right now is the offensive line. But of course, quarterback is secondary for me. I just don't know. I don't know why you'd try to get a quarterback in before you make sure to do what you can do to protect them.
That's very, very true. I could see a lot of our guys getting looks from other teams. We don't know what Denver is going to do quarterback. They have a very high draft pick, so they could probably draft one. But Denver's a team that needs a quarterback.
Denver also has a very poor draft track record of drafting quarterbacks lately.
Oh, God. This is awful. Arizona is the biggest underlier in this whole situation because they don't have a quarterback.
They have nothing.
So they're going to get someone from somewhere. The question is who.
Not only are they going to get a starter, they're going to get a backup, which might be a quarterback that another team might look at as a starter.
That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of quarterback talk. You guys want to do this other main topic and talk about these top 10 Vikings?
Yeah. Since the player that I picked at number 9 got referenced last week, I might as well kick things off. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of crap about this because not only are there 2 major Viking stars that didn't make the cut on my list, I also have Adrian Peterson at number 9.
That's very fair.
I do appreciate everything that Adrian Peterson has done on the field as a Viking. The running back position has been just a workhorse position for too long for the Minnesota Vikings, and he carried the team for a long time on his shoulders to the playoffs. He had games where he broke the NFL record for rushing yards. He flirted with the single season rushing record. He always had that drive on the field to beat everybody and get to the end zone. And there's no denying that he is one of the best Minnesota Vikings players of all time. But the question is, what's left for him? What's the rest of his career going to look like? That's why it's hard to put current NFL players on the list, because you never know what more they have to offer.
I would absolutely despise this to happen, but he is from the state of Texas. If he can finally accept that maybe he's a backup somewhere, I know he's in tip-top physical shape, but he needs a good line. Maybe he can learn a different offense. I don't see that being a problem. If he was behind somebody like Zeke Elliott in Dallas, he would actually be effective. He's not going to.
I still can't believe the Cowboys picked paying Des Bryant over keeping their offensive line intact when they gave Romo so much time and Dak so much time. Just blows my mind.
Yeah, Des needs to be moved on. But I don't like the Cowboys, so we're going to get off that subject. Kyle, who you got at number 9, man?
Number 9, we also talked about last week. I went with defensive end Jim Marshall. Hey-yo, nice. He is an excellent player, like we said last week. 282 consecutive regular season games. He played for 19 years as a Minnesota Viking. He should be in the Hall of Fame, ladies and gentlemen. He was an outstanding player that unfortunately gets overshadowed by one play. But you have to look past that, and you look at his career. He was a dominant player for the Vikings. He was a big part of the Purple People Eaters defense. I'm a big fan of Jim Marshall. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame. He really does.
We definitely give him a lot of love on the show, and he deserves it. And I know that he will always go down in infamy because of that one play. But hey, you can't take that away from his entire body of work.
You can't.
I think it's dumb that guys like Joe Namath are in there when he has more interceptions than touchdowns, but we overlook a guy like this who is so consistent all the time. So I'm with you there, man. Not saying
if Troy Aikman can go in there, anyone can be in there.
Dear Jesus. Oh, these Cowboy references, get me out of here. So this one's going to make Adam mad, but I had to put him in here, and I have you'll much enjoy my recovery for next week's because I'm
curious.
It's Paul Krause.
I'm glad to see he made your top 10.
He's incredible. He had 53 interceptions for the Vikings. He's the all-time leader in interceptions. I'm looking at his stats right here from the Hall of Fame website. His rookie year, he had 12 interceptions.
He sure did.
Holy crap.
This guy.
And it wasn't a passing league back then.
It's insane the amount of interceptions this guy has. He's a Hall of Famer. He's just one of the best players that we've ever had on the team. And I wanted to throw him in there. I had a little shift in my list just based on personal preference, which is great because you guys can destroy me if you don't like it. But transitioning there, I know he's probably low based on your guys' standards, but he is definitely in the top 10. And I put him in front of my favorite player because I had to based on those numbers that he had, which is crazy. But Adam, I'll give you a preview for next week. You're going to like my pick at who I've got at number 8.
Yeah, I have Krause coming up on my list. It's going to be a couple episodes down the line, but we're going to be talking about him again. Not too far down the road.
This is pretty cool. I like this whole thing. If you guys in the chat want to tell us your top 10, by all means, throw it out there. We'll go around. We'll try to base it off that week's answer.
Oh, that's a good point from Paul in the chat talking about Paul Krause. He's like, how many games per season back then when he got all those interceptions as well too? So it was a 14-game season, right?
14-game season up until 1978. In 1978, he started with
he had a crazy nose for the football.
I'm going to read these off to you just because he spent first 4 seasons with Washington. So 12 his rookie year, 6, 2, 8, came to Minnesota in 1968. We have 7, 5, 6, 6, 6, 4, 2, 10 in 1975, 11 years after he was drafted. 2, 2, none in 1978, but 3 in 1979 before he hung it up.
We talk about Terrence Newman being the fountain of youth.
Yeah,
Paul Krause. Yeah.
And yeah, I know that I'm probably a little personally biased just because I've had some interactions with Paul Krause, and he's just been an amazing man every time I've met him. So maybe that might be a reason why he's a little higher on my list than some other people's. But when you take away all that and just look at what he's accomplished on the field, it's hard not to include him in the top 10 Vikings of all time.
Absolutely not. He was incredible. Watching a little bit of film that you have for YouTube highlights and whatnot, it's just insane. Like you said, not a passing league back then, not as many games, and to come up with that many as a rookie, I didn't even care that he wasn't playing for the Vikings then. Holy crap! And then 11 years later, double-digit interceptions. When's the last time that happened?
Don't know.
And it's also cool that him and Harrison Smith both have the same jersey number. Harrison Smith currently wears jersey number 22.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
that's true. And Harrison Smith has said that when he took that number, he wasn't aware of Paul Krause, what he did with the Vikings. And as soon as he learned a little bit about the history and he got to meet Paul Krause, he gained a whole lot of respect for him. And ever since then, I guess they've been pretty chummy.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, if somebody's going to take your number, I would want it to be somebody like Harrison Smith. He's pretty badass, so that's pretty cool.
He was also an 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, and was the NFL career interception leader for a while, and is a member of the 1998 Hall of Fame class.
We got Art Roca in the chat saying, Fran's got to be number one, and spoiler, he's not number one on my list.
Fran will appear.
He will make an appearance, and it is within the top 3 of mine, for sure.
I won't tell you where he's at on mine, but yeah, he's definitely.
He's coming up on all of our lists, I assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is fun. We don't get an opportunity to talk about some of our older talent and history of the team enough. I like being able to talk about some of the history of the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And a lot of these guys don't get enough attention anymore because I understand that a lot of fans are either younger or live in the moment. But Vikings history is so fun to relive.
Yeah. When's the last time we got to talk about Paul Krause? I mean...
That'd be that autograph signing that I shared my story to you guys, which, again, an amazing experience. But talking about his efforts on the field and what he was able to do there, that's even cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I hear you guys asked a social media question this week.
That would be Kyle, I believe.
I did a poll this week. We did a social media poll. I figured since we're doing our top 10 greatest Minnesota Vikings of all time, I wanted to ask a difficult question. If you could only pick one receiver to best represent the Minnesota Vikings, would you pick Chris Carter or Randy Moss? And I think that is a difficult question to answer. Smith, do you happen to have it in front of you? Because I forgot to pull it up.
No, you just keep on chugging along, sir. I'll pull that up for you.
Sure. And
yeah, if I were to make my selection, and I know that this is, again, probably not the most popular opinion, I'd say it's definitely Chris Carter for me because of his longevity, professionalism, stats over time, just all that. I mean, it's got to be Chris Carter for me, and I know you're probably going to go the other way.
I think it's really difficult. That's why I picked it, because spoiler alert, both guys are on my top 10 list coming up here.
I only have one.
I would go with Randy Moss would be my pick. I know that, Carter was really an amazing player as well, too, but it's just got to be Randy. That rookie season for Randy Moss, it's just so difficult to bet and pick against that.
Well, this poll is pretty lopsided. There's 59 votes, and it's 17 for Chris Carter and 52 for Randy Moss.
Yeah, I figured Carter would not get a ton of the love in that one, but it's glad to see that at least it wasn't, on a landslide in the case that Chris Carter didn't get any love. So glad to see Chris Carter getting a little bit of attention there. And like I said, I give the nod to Carter because of the longevity that he had with the Vikings, because he was at the Vikings a significantly longer period of time. And I do think that if Randy Moss had stayed a Viking for longer, he probably would have been one of the, if not the greatest Viking of all time. But it's just not, the things didn't work out that way. He ended up lending his talents to other teams, going to the Patriots and Oakland and, just all over the place. So I get that it has made such a big impact and brought a lot of fans to Minnesota. but I just don't feel like he had a great impact, but I don't think that it was a lasting impact.
I understand where you're coming from. I don't think that – I wish that he was with us longer. I picked him, of course, in the poll. I just voted on there now, so it's 53-17. But it's no slight against Chris Carter. It's like when we have that debate, amongst football fans, is Tom Brady the GOAT or is it Joe Montana? Just because I picked Tom Brady doesn't mean Joe Montana's a bum. So,
it's Marino.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No.
Troy Aikman, come on. What are you guys talking about?
Actually, you know what?
I keep talking about all these Cowboys.
I get to – God, I hate you guys. I get to bring in my lady crush for this one because I'm obsessed with Katie Nolan, and I've been watching the hell out of her YouTube stuff nonstop for the last 2 weeks. And she actually talked with Terry Bradshaw, and she asked him that. She's like, "You've won 4 Super Bowls. Does that not make you mad that you're not in the conversation there?" He's like, "No, not really." So I'm going to bring up Terry Bradshaw every time just because. That's who I'm going to bring up. But no, picking between Randy Moss and Chris Carter, both great points. I picked Randy Moss because he just kind of revolutionized the wide receiver position. It's insane. Other teams were drafting corners every year trying to stop this guy, and they failed. It was insane. I just wish that he was with our team for longer and
showed a little more effort when he was here sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
We have any good comments on that one?
Let me bring it back up again. Sorry, I got rid of it.
No, that's cool. I'm just curious if people like the idea of doing a poll for the social media question.
Hey, since we got quite a few votes, it seems like it's
got 70 votes, man.
Something people are kind of digging a little bit.
So I think it's more interactive. So let's look at the comments here. So
what's next? Sully or Matt Burke?
Ooh, that'd be a tough one too. I'd go Matt Burke.
Ooh. Our other admin, Mr. Dorian Foley, said, "Damn, this is harder than Chinese arithmetic," but I'll give it to Chris Carter. John Dostal said Carter was the better Viking, but Moss had better NFL career.
I'll take that. That makes sense.
That does make sense. Randy was a better wide receiver, but CC has a better career with the Vikings. Steven Kornberger says. Chuck Holcomb says Chris Carter. Rob Kramer says Randy. And Deb Derry Meester says Chris Carter.
Yeah, so a lot of the Randy Moss people just clicking Randy Moss, and the Chris Carter people are signing off in the comments. So it's kind of nice to see. I like all that. Good stuff.
It's fun. It's all fun. I like that. That's the whole idea.
It is, and it's good to take the off season to have some fun with people. And I think that this is better than asking you guys, "Oh, what do you think about Kirk Cousins? You guys want Sam Bradford back?" But yeah, this is more fun and interactive, I think.
Maybe I'll do one that's like...
You have to do terrible ones, Kyle. You have to do like Christian Ponder or Donovan McNabb. You have to do something like that. Yeah. You have to do a bad one time here or there, just for somebody who is just awful for us.
Matt Khalil or Charlie Johnson?
Oh, God.
I would honestly pick Charlie Johnson.
Oh, crap.
I would...
Did you see that Minnesota Vikings memes posted the name a more dynamic duo than Randy Moss and Chris Carter? And I posted a picture of Matt Khalil and Charlie Johnson.
Yeah, you did. I saw it. It came up because we're mutual friends on there. Oh, that's so funny.
Oh, God.
I got one. Okay, I've got one. Tremaine Brock. Who was the corner we had about 5-6 years ago with Leslie Frazier? It was like number 20.
Shepard?
No. That's not the name.
Chris Cook?
Chris Cook. Oh, there it is. Who was worse, Chris Cook or Tremaine Brock?
Ooh, Randall McDaniel or Steve Hutchinson?
Don't make me choose.
Damn.
We got some tough ones here in the chat.
I'm going with Chris Cook. I want a Chris Cook jersey.
We'll save some of these for later because I think it's going to be a lot of fun talking about this and doing some of these picks over the weeks.
I would go with Randall McDaniel. Oh, that's tough, though. That one really makes you think.
I think Hutch is going to be in the Hall of Fame next year. I think both these guys are Hall of Famers, and it's going to be one heck of a discussion. That is if a lot of the younger fans even remember these guys. Which is kind of sad to talk about.
I'm looking.
How can you forget Randall McDaniel? He had that amazing stance out there, too, that was just so unique.
So it's
so unique the way he played.
Today is Wednesday, March 7th. I believe free agency starts. Is it the 12th or the 14th?
Not soon enough.
I want to say 14th.
All right, so we'll do the safe bet and give it an extra 2 days. So a week from today, the new league year starts. And from there, there's not going to be any more of those worries about tampering, all that good stuff. But I'm looking here. The official draft dates will be on Thursday, April 26th, and ends on Saturday, April 28th. So we're almost to the middle of March. It's going to be here quicker than you think, guys. And once all these pieces in free agency move around, we'll get a better sense of where we're going to go. But I think it's all but a foregone conclusion. Unless somebody crazy good falls for some weird reason, I think we're going to hit up the offensive or defensive line in the first round. But that's just something.
We got March 14th for the new league year.
There we go.
But we did, and we didn't mention it during the show, so we'll mention it a little bit at the end here. The deadline to franchise tag players was passed. Vikings did not tag anybody as expected. We didn't anticipate that anybody would be franchise or transition tagged by the Vikings. There were some teams that did use the tag. The biggest surprise was probably the Steelers using their tag again on Le'Veon Bell, who has threatened to hold out if he got tagged again. So that is a storyline to watch for fans of the NFL.
Another weird one that's out there, Jarvis Landry was franchise tagged, but he does have the option to go explore free agency. So that's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason, a very, very interesting offseason.
Also, if you guys didn't hear today, defensive end former Seattle Seahawk Michael Bennett is now a part of the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, because they needed more pass rush.
And Alec Ogletree from the Rams moved somewhere else today. I can't remember where he went, but he's no longer a part of the Rams. So there's already been some pretty big names moving around.
I still don't understand how these trades are being made before the start of the new year, but hey.
No, you know.
I guess, whatever. Well, I'll go with the flow.
Alex, I'll take what is tampering for $600, please.
Trade can't become official until the new year, but the details are in place. Oh, so they pretty much traded. Cool.
That and while we're on the subject of the $600 question, what is a catch in the NFL for $1,000, please? Ooh, answer today's Daily Double. If you can get this one correct.
Yeah, they have changed the going to the ground rule, right? To being you have to make a football move now instead of going to the ground, right?
Oh, God. The ambiguous football move that's open to interpretation, and nobody has any clue what that means.
The problem is that
that'll
eliminating
help.
the going to the ground rule doesn't change that the ball will be going to the ground, and they're still going to have to make a decision on it.
No wonder Ed Hockley retired. I don't blame him. I'd retire too. God,
he's like, I've had enough of this shit. I'm done.
He's like, whatever. I'm out of here. I'm done.
Ed Hockley retires to go do curls until he dies.
Oh.
That day.
Well, that's all I have. You guys got anything else you want to talk about?
I would like to plug my new band, which is amazing. If you guys are in the El Paso area, maybe we'll move down to San Antonio or somewhere in New Mexico and play some gigs. But if you're a Metallica fan, I'm in a Metallica tribute band called Disposable Ink. Go check us out on Facebook. The guys are cool with it. I'll share it on the podcast page for you guys. But we play the Black Album in full, along with a handful of other hand-picked songs, some new, some old, some favorites. But pretty excited to be back and playing music with a group of guys. They're very awesome and very good musicians. So
do you have an old lady in your band to do the Memory Remains stuff?
No, but we do play. No, we don't play Memory Remains. Never mind. That should be one of the ones we talk about.
I just had to check because that song. I'm not a huge Metallica fan, but that song gets stuck in my damn head. Mr. West, what do you got coming out here soon?
I don't know, stuff and things.
Didn't your podcast just convert over to being 1080p or something like that?
Yeah, Jeff spent all of his tax money on a really fancy camera to record the show, so we can. It's all of the HD. It's actually pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool setup with a green screen and shit. You can find us on just Shut Up, I Like This. You can find us on Facebook and iTunes and YouTube, and we talk about all kinds of different movies and shit.
Yeah, my backdrop, I just got the Vikings flag here, but yeah, I don't know. I don't see the need for us to evolve into something like that quite yet. We're just having fun.
Yeah, that's why I like this show. It's pretty relaxed, and I don't have to look nice.
No.
I can just be at home in my computer chair and bullshit Vikings football.
Now, I do want to take some time and thank everyone that came from the Purple People podcast to check out the Viking Age, because we had a record month last month. We had people checking out our site more than any other month in history. So thank you, everyone who clicked on an article, shared an article, or even just told a friend about the site, because I really do appreciate all the help. Also, we got Undead Walking, where there's so much going on. New comic book came out today, and it seems like everything that we thought was going good might not be as good as we thought. So that's going to be really interesting to keep an eye on what's going on in the Walking Dead comics. Of course, season 8 is still going on. The big moments, we got the fallout from a major death. We got war going on. We got so much happening. We got season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead coming up as well, and so much happening there. So if you're a fan of the zombie shows, check out undeadwalking.com. There's also apps for the Viking Age and Undead Walking. If you have a cellular phone, which I think most of you probably do at this time, and not a flip phone. Like who is it that has a flip phone? Is it Andrew Luck?
Yeah.
He's also got a huge neck beard that I can't look away from.
It's pretty amazing. But I also do want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat here, whether it's Scott Schwab, Sergio Moreno, Art Roca, Paul Gruber, really just so many great people here joining us in the chat. We appreciate it greatly. And also, if you can head on over to iTunes, we appreciate everyone who's already headed over there and gave us a review. If you could do that for us, that'd be amazing. Also, check us out, iTunes, Stitcher, PodOMatic, Google Podcasts, pretty much anywhere where you can find podcasts, you'll be able to find us. We also go up on the Viking Age, so if you have the Viking Age app, you'll get a notification when a new show is on. Also on YouTube, and I know this is going a little long, so I apologize. We would appreciate it if you would subscribe, like, share, or maybe even hit that little bell to get a notification when we go live, because I got one on my phone because I am notified so that I don't miss when the Purple People podcast goes live.
You should give us a review while you're at it on the Facebook channel, the Facebook page.
I forgot that we even do that anymore.
Yeah, you can review us on Facebook, and so that helps as well too. I think we're at like 4.3 or something.
Hey, that's not too shabby right there.
Newer, all of that stuff helps in the grander scheme of algorithms.
We also have 5 thumbs up right here on this episode on YouTube.
Yeah, all of this shit is based on whatever platform you're on is based on good reviews and interaction and thumbs up and comments and all that stuff. So if you guys like the show, help us out and do these things. Help us spread the word, because I think we're pretty cool. I think that 292 episodes, and that's doing one a week. We're closing in on 300, and that's a pretty big achievement. I am really pretty proud of that.
It is pretty crazy. Yeah. Something that started out as just a hobby, us BSing about football, turned into something so fun. And we got a nice community of other fans here that enjoy the show with us, and thank you so much for all that.
I want to do something fun for 300.
If anybody would like to volunteer to come to El Paso, I'll Spartan kick you just like 300 to start the show.
There you go. I like it.
Find a Packer fan.
Sergio Moreno says, I don't think you can be an Uber driver with a 4.3 rating. Good thing we aren't Uber. Nobody trusts me behind the wheel anyways, I tell you. But I do want to say that we got... We're well over an hour on an off-season show, so this should not be happening.
It always does.
How do we do that?
I'm not sure. We even had a short list of stuff to talk about.
We talked about freaking Troy Aikman. That's why he's the culprit.
Damn that Troy Aikman.
Ugh.
But all right, guys, I do want to thank everyone for joining us. Head on over, check us out, Facebook. You can catch us on Twitter at Purple People Pod. You can check me out at MN Viking Zombie, as well as the rest of us. And if you check the comments or the description below, you'll see all of our handles where you can contact us and maybe talk about football, Walking Dead, horror films, Metallica, whatever you guys are digging. And thanks again for joining us and listening, and we hope to see you back next week. Stay classy, Minnesota.